So you're in a season where it feels like there's just a lot of warfare right now. You're flooded with some really just dark emotions and you're not sure how to get out of that or overcome it. And that is exactly what I want to talk about and focus in on today's video.
Some tears, some stress, but I count my blessings.
Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I love making videos like this one, but I also do fashion content, travel, vlogs, etc. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope you subscribe, become part of the family, but also feel free to stay for today's video. I really want to talk about what you do when your mind is flooded with some very traumatic memories, traumatic experience. So number one, I want to focus on the backstory, what led me to filming this video, and just kind of share some things that I've been going through. As you know, on YouTube, my channel, we keep it raw and real, okay? I don't want to fake it. I feel like all of my other platforms still get the real me. However, they're much more shorter form content. So it's like, it's not really a lot that I can express in that little bit of a time. But on YouTube, we can film more longer videos. And so I feel like I can come here, express more, you know, talk to you all, catch up. Again, this is a judgment-free zone. So feel free to, you know, take away what you need to and share what you need to as well. Again, no judgment. Here is a safe, vulnerable space. So let's just get right into it. Your girl was faced with some heavy, very heavy, deep feelings this previous week. Of course, it was not planned, but I just became very triggered. And the thing about triggers is it can be the simplest things, like the way something smells, you know, the way someone said something, watching a movie. Like, it does not have to be this crazy trigger. It can be the most smallest things that can trigger a not so good memory. And now you're in this place where it feels very dark, it feels very like just negative, you want to beat yourself up, etc. So yeah, I just had become triggered this previous week and it led me into just kind of like a dark circle for a moment where I was just thinking about my past self and wanting to be extremely critical on myself. Like, why did you do that? Why did you know, allow yourself to be with that person? Like, again, just a lot of guilt, shame, and overall being a big bully to myself. But it was through me being triggered in this moment that I learned a couple things that I wanted to share in case you're going through this or you found yourself in seasons like this and you just didn't know what to do to help you when it feels like it comes again. Because unfortunately, trauma does not go away. We just learn how to deal with it. So number one to do when you're feeling like, you know, you've been triggered now, you have a lot of those, you know, emotions starting to overwhelm you, is really dive into understanding what is a healthy coping mechanism versus an unhealthy coping mechanism. So for example, a lot of us have picked up and developed coping mechanisms due to trying to survive and deal with the trauma we've experienced. But we don't realize that there's a difference. There's actually healthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms. I was watching TikTok because, you know, I'm on my little TikTok, and there was this video where someone had asked this person, like, what are some ways you deal with your mental health? And their answer was, oh, you know, I smoke and drink. And the person was like, I don't think that's like a good answer, you know. And they were like, well, it is for me. Like, when I smoke, I feel more happier, I feel more calmer. And so I went in the comments and so many people were agreeing, like, yep, if I'm having a bad day, I just smoke or I drink. And it made me realize that a lot of us have identified certain coping mechanisms when we're dealing with hard times as just like, well, this is how I cope. But it's really unhealthy, and what tends to happen is it's just a little band-aid on that wound. It's not a true fix, you know. If we use a metaphor, for example, if you have an injury or a really, you know, deep cut, a wound on your body, and you just kind of like ignore it, you just put a band-aid over it, you just take some medicine, what this is going to do is, yeah, it'll give you a quick relief. You won't feel that pain as intensely, but again, it's going to go away and you're going to be back in pain. You're going to be back, you know, having that injury now to deal with. And what's going to happen is you're going to tend to just continue to put this little band-aid over it, take some medicine, to the point where it's going to get extremely painful, that those little fixes are not going to even fix it anymore. It's not going to even feel like it's helping. And now you have to go to the doctor to make that appointment. And you know, long story short, you find out that this is much bigger than what you thought. And because you didn't actually take time to deal with it at its root and its early stages, it's going to take a lot more work to deal with it now. You know, it can include surgery, sometimes, as you know, scary as it may sound, even amputation, if you don't deal with things at its root and early on. And so I feel like for so many of us, we just kind of, you know, put a little band-aid on certain traumas we've experienced, and we don't really deal with them at the root. We just kind of like bypass it and distract ourselves with mechanisms we think is coping, but it's really unhealthy. And that is why I really want to share this video, to transform into creating healthy coping mechanisms when you are in those really dark spaces. You know, for me, one of the things that I would do is I would distract myself through people. So I would like phone a friend and I would just distract myself, like, let's go for a drive, let's grab food, let's whatever. And I wasn't really dealing with the root of the issue, and I thought that this was okay for a long time, because I was like, well, you know, now I'm not sad anymore. But the truth is, again, it was just a simple fix to the issue. It wasn't a true guaranteed fix. And the reality of it is, the only true fix that's going to give us an everlasting pleasure and everlasting fulfillment is God. The more that we try to run away and fix these things through people, substances, etc., we're going to continue to realize that it's not going to sustain itself. It's not going to last. Again, back to the metaphor of a wound, of an injury that goes unnoticed for so long, it's going to get bigger. It's not going to go away. The pain is going to increase, and now you're going to be having to deal with a lot of more work that it's going to take to actually heal the wound, to fix the wound. And so, to kind of dive deep into some healthy coping mechanisms when you're faced with these traumatic experiences is, number one, go to God. I know this may sound cliche, because of course when you're going through something hard, it feels as if you're so far from God. But the truth is, God is there with you. He has not left your side. So if that just includes saying, God, I need help, just simply say those words. It doesn't have to be this long, you know, dramatic prayer. It just could simply be, God, I need help right now. I cannot do this alone. But first, just give it to Him, because through Him is where you'll find the most purest, most unconditional love, and the true transformation will begin. Another really healthy coping mechanism when you're dealing with your traumatic experiences is to, again, identify some ways in which you would deal with it before that was unhealthy, and then do the opposite. So for me, as I mentioned, I would distract myself. I would like distract myself with people, social media, etc. Like, I did not want to be alone and to like deal with the traumatic memory. So now what I do is I set a timer, and I set it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that I may need. Sometimes I just say, just give yourself 2 minutes, because it can feel a lot to say like, we're gonna sit with this for 30 minutes. Like, that can feel like forever. So sometimes I say, okay, just set the timer for 2 minutes. Actually, just 2 minutes, you can do this. We're gonna sit with this emotion. What happens is, I now created a space where I'm not depending on other people to like make me happy and fix me. I'm now depending on, you know, again, God first and foremost, and being in the presence with Him and with myself. And so when I set that timer for 2 minutes, if I need to cry, I cry. If I need to scream, I scream. If I need to tell myself like, this is really difficult for me to process right now, I tell myself that. But I don't run to other things anymore. Again, for me, that was the form of people, because I know it's just going to distract me, and you know, it's going to be a short-term fix that's going to leave me right back to reality, you know. And again, it's just going to create more work than I'm going to have to do in the long run. So I set the timer, and I just kind of like take time to process it. A third thing that I do that has transformed me from unhealthy coping mechanisms to healthy ones is, I think about the younger version of myself, that version of me in that moment, and I'll release it all. I give myself like a nice deep hug and allow myself to know like you do not have to attach yourself to that version of you. It is okay. You are safe now. So those are just some healthy coping those are just some healthy coping mechanisms. There's so many more, like going for a walk, journaling, going to the gym. And there is good, ways that you can phone a friend, but again, you have to know what type of friends you're phoning, because for me, I was distracting myself through other people that, again, wasn't really like praying for me. They weren't, sharing the gospel with me. It was through men. Some of them, it was through men, like, let me call this person so that they can distract me, and we're gonna go for a ride, we're gonna get food, and we're gonna like whatever. Or it was through like certain female friendships that I did have, but again, like, it wasn't like, they were gonna pray for me and give me like some sound advice. It was like, yeah girl, let's do this, yeah girl, you fine, like, like amping me up to just like kind of distract from the root of the problem, distract from like what I was really dealing with. And no judgment in this video, because I'm calling myself out, so no judgment to any of the friends I had, but I realized that I was distracting myself. I wasn't dealing with the root of the problem when I was going to those type of people, because like the type of people that you kind of avoid calling, because you're like, oh, they're gonna give me some like good advice. Like, if you've been in my shoes, you may understand, but I definitely had different friend groups. Okay, I had the friend group where like, okay, I'm gonna call them, I know they're gonna pray for me, they're gonna give me some good advice, they're gonna help me out. And then I have the friends where I'm like, I'm gonna call them because I know they're gonna give me the answers I want to hear. I know, and they, some people argue probably weren't really friends, but I had those people in my life, not anymore, but I did, where I was like, I'm gonna call them because I know that they're gonna distract me. They're gonna tell me, yeah girl, like, call him if you want to call him, yeah girl, like, it's not that big of a deal, like, they're gonna give me the answers I wanted to hear, versus again, those friends that hold you accountable and be like, okay Ash, like, is this really being your highest self? Like, sometimes you're like, oh, I want to hear the smart answer. So I had to be real with myself, and I was distracting myself, or phoning a friend. I wasn't phoning a friend to get sound piece of advice. I was phoning that friend so that they could tell me what I wanted to do, so they can hype me up, be like, yeah girl, if you want to call him, yeah girl, it's not that deep, yeah girl, if you need to go in for a ride and get you some food, like whatever. I was calling those friends I knew was going to tell me yes, and like kind of hype me up to do the things in which I knew I shouldn't be doing. And again, that was not fixing me, because again, I was going to be right back into that place, right back into the pain, because those little things weren't actually fixes, they were distractions. So that's number 2. Really identify the unhealthy coping mechanisms versus the healthy ones, and focus on doing the healthy ones. Even when I know it's gonna be hard, but just continue to try, to do those. Number 3, your girl, I got my handy dandy notebook, as you know. So number 3, when you're going through those traumatic experience, when it feels like your mind is flooded with a traumatic memory, is to don't attach yourself too much to that version of yourself. I mean, honestly, don't attach yourself at all, because that's not who you are anymore. And I know, it can be so easy when you're faced with a very emotional, traumatic memory to have a lot of guilt, have a lot of shame, judge yourself, like, why did I do that? But the truth is, you are no longer that person, okay? I have to remind myself, like, that person doesn't exist. I do not resonate with her anymore, because that is the past version of myself. I am now, born again through God's grace, and I am no longer attached to that. I am forgiven, and I am walking in the new light that God has created me in. And, I was watching this video by Hypnomi, and she mentioned how, like, now when her emotions present themselves, she allows herself to fully embrace them, because she no longer attached the way she treats herself to those emotions when they come. And I feel like the reason why it can be so scary sometimes to process how we feel is because we allow those emotions to now, have an effect on how we treat ourselves. The truth is, bringing it back to one of the healthy coping mechanisms I do is I just give myself a nice hug. I tell myself like, you are safe now, you are okay. I don't have to attach myself to that version of me anymore. Like, she does not exist, you know. And I did the best that I could in that time, in that space, in that environment, with resources I had. A lot of us just simply don't know. We don't know how to love. We don't know how to process our traumas. Sometimes we don't even know that we have trauma because we've just kind of like normalized it as that's just how, you know, I grew up, that's just my family. But there's a lot of things that you don't know, so you continue to move without knowing. But the truth is, you have to understand that now you do know. Now you have learned from experience, unfortunately, but hey, it happens, and now you can move accordingly. So again, when my negative emotions or those memories come to flood my mind, I just give myself a reminder that this just means your younger self needs a hug right now. You know, like, sit with that. Like, when those emotions come, I just say, okay, my younger self needs a hug right now. You know, my younger self, she needs the protection that she didn't get in that moment, because that's why this memory is flooding me. You know, maybe it's a bigger lining, like, okay, I need to dig deeper into this and get some healing, because maybe I thought I forgave and released, but I truly didn't. And so again, when those triggering memories, those triggering emotions come and want to flood my mind, I just kind of take a moment and think about what my younger self wanted in that moment, and then I give it to her right now. And you know, I kind of like saying, it's okay. Like, I know that that was extremely traumatic for you, but I'm here now. I got you. I know you needed a hug and you didn't get one, but I'm here to give it to you now. I know you needed protection and you didn't get that, but I'm here to give it to you now. You have God and you're not alone. Your Heavenly Father has not given up on you, even when sometimes it can feel like He's so far. He's not. He's right here in this moment with you. You can give it to Him. You don't have to lay it all on yourself. You can release it. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking to someone with this right now as much as I'm talking to myself. So I really want anyone who's watching this to know that you don't have to continue to carry it on your own. You are not alone. And just again, like, if it's as simple as when those heavy emotions come, reminding yourself like, okay, my younger self is telling me she needs a hug. My younger self is telling me that she needs whatever she didn't get in that moment. Maybe it's just a laugh. Maybe it's a good cry. Maybe it's a good scream. And so I'm going to give her space to do that right now, because she wasn't able to in that moment. Once I've done that, I've come out with so much more forgiveness, so much more happiness, because the old me, when those memories would flood my mind, I would be so crucial. You know, I would be so hard on myself. Like, I would literally, I don't know where that came from. Let's move forward. I would become like my biggest bully, you know, like, why'd you do that? You're so, you know, just so many really bad words that I would tell myself. And it's because I didn't know how to properly love me. But now, again, as hard as it may be to face those memories, when they come, I just think about everything that I wanted, everything that I needed in that moment. And then as my future self, as my older version of me, I give that to her. And you know, I move forward. You know, I'm like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. But you are not that version of yourself. You are not the person that hurt you. You are not that past memory. You're not that past, you know, experienced. You've grown so much and you've healed so much, and you're constantly healing. And you know, once again, I can't say it enough, but just give yourself what it would need or what it needed in that moment that it never received. Because sometimes when you have those really heavy emotions, it could be a sign that your younger self is just kind of like knocking on the door like, hey, we need some extra love right now. We need a hug that we didn't receive and we really wanted to receive, you know, during that moment. We need God, because we can't do this by ourselves, and we've been trying. You know, I'm getting a little bit emotional, but the truth is, again, when you go for so long ignoring those wounds, they don't go away. They just get louder and louder and louder until it's going to be a lot of more work to deal with it. And so when those memories come, take it as a sign, like, I gotta heal this. And it's not going to be easy, but slowly but surely I will heal this wound. I will heal and become better, you know. So that's number 3. Number 4 on dealing with those really heavy emotions, those heavy memories, is to be cautious of who you surround yourself with. I know for me, like, I was justifying the people that I was surrounding myself with because of time, or because of, like, well, you know, just because I'm growing doesn't mean that I have to cut off these people. Like, they can grow and they can transform just like I did. But the truth is, sometimes holding on to those people of your past can actually stagnate your growth. You know, those people that they've fallen in love with that version of you. They only know that version of you. Maybe, you know, it's the version of you that liked to go out and party all the time. Maybe it's the version of you that always would drink. And so now when you're on your healing journey and you're really starting to transform, they don't recognize this new version of you because that's not the version of you they met. That's not the version of you that they fell in love with. So now they're like, what's going on? And what could tend to happen is you can be tempted to fall back into who you once were because you're amongst these people that only knew one version of you. So now they're like, girl, like, come on, like, you can still drink, you can still do this, like, it's not that big of a deal. They don't really understand the calling that God has placed on you. They don't really see where you're trying to go. And so again, if you're not careful and you continue to hang around, you can very much so go back to the very thing God delivered you from. And so you have to be mindful of people you surround yourself with. I'm not saying, like, again, when you start growing closer to God, cut off everybody. But you do have to really distinguish yourself amongst those people that are going to be able to help you grow closer to God, that's going to be able to see your transformation and support it, versus the people that are going to be the ones actually pulling you farther away from God. And so I had to kind of distinguish that, and some people didn't understand, but I had to let them know, like, I don't blame you at all, I don't judge you at all, but you only know one season of me. You know, for example, like the summer, we know the summer as hot, we know the summer as, you know, longer days, it feels like. We know the summer where the light is going to be out more, you know, you're going to be going to pool parties, you're going to be doing a lot of things. So we don't expect the summer to be winter because the summer is not winter. So again, that may be a metaphor that kind of like resonates with some people, or maybe a little bit confusing. But I say all that to say, like, when someone has met you in a certain season and they are expecting that season from you, they are expecting you to do those things in which you did in that season. Now that you've, like, started to grow and transform, they're like, wait a minute, what's going on, you know? And they don't know how to really process you in that new season that you're in. And so while, again, like, they may not be like these horrible people or even like intentionally trying to like hurt you, they are going to, because they only know you in one season. And so again, they're going to be trying to tempt you, and if you're not really cautious of the people of your environment, it will distract you, it will pull you farther away from God. A little story time of my own, if you will, right? Because on here we get personal, we get real, we get raw. There were men that I was talking to that I knew weren't godly. I knew were not gonna be my husband. But, you know, I thought, oh, they're cute, oh, you know, I'll change them. And so I kept talking to them. And when I started to grow closer to God and I started to say, like, hey, you know, I don't do those things anymore, to them they're like, whatever, like, you know, relax, like, have fun, like, you know, you're doing too much. And so they didn't understand, like, where I was going. And I, you know, fell a couple times when I started to really try to grow closer to God. You know, I would say, like, okay, God, I'm gonna start reading my Bible more, I'm gonna start doing this. But because I still was holding on to those people, I failed. I failed miserably, like, not once, not twice, but a couple times, because again, I didn't realize how much true, like, importance it is to be mindful in the environment that you're around. Because again, because I was around those people that or like, you know, have some fun, loosen up, like it's not that serious, whatever, I will start to kind of question myself, like maybe I am doing too much, like maybe I do need to have some more fun. Like I'm 23, maybe I should be going out and drinking, maybe I should be. And next thing you know, I'm doing things I said I wouldn't. Next thing you know, I'm justifying certain things, like I'm 23, this is the time to live my life. Like, girl, you know that this life that you think you're living is causing you more hell. It's literally causing you to turn away from everything God has for you, everything God promised you. Is it worth it? And you have to wake up and realize it's not. It's not worth it. And so again, I had to say, I can't do this. I can't keep justifying like, oh, you know, but maybe they'll change it. No, I have to let these people go, because they're literally going to be the death of me if I keep holding on to them. They're taking me farther away from God than closer. And the sad truth is, this could be family, you know, this could be close friends, but you have to determine if they're worth it. Again, it may not be, you know, as deep as cutting them off forever. For me, I had to cut off those people, but it made me just like loving them from afar, you know. It could be different for different circumstances, different situations, of course, but take inventory of the people that you're around, because it can literally be the determining factor if you grow and go to where God is calling you, or if you stay stagnant. It can literally be the determining factor. So be really mindful of that. And number 5 is, you know, when you're dealing with these really just emotional triggering memories, is to surrender it all to God. I briefly talked about this, but I can't stress it enough, which is just laying it all at his feet. Because there's nothing that God hasn't seen. There's nothing too big for him. There's nothing that he can't overcome, that he can't, you know, deal with. Oh, that's too messy. God has seen it all. And he wants you to show him the mess, the uncleanness, so that he can clean it, so that he can heal it. You know, so that he can get to the root of it. The more that you hide, the more that you're like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna deal with it, I don't want to bring this, the more that it's gonna get worse. It's not gonna go away, it's gonna get worse. So take time to surrender it all to God. As I mentioned, it can be as simple as, God, I need help. That's it. Putting on some gospel music, letting the lyrics take you away. You know, it doesn't have to look like what somebody else does. It doesn't have to look like 5 hours in prayer. It could simply be, God, I need help. God, I can't do this alone. And I've been trying for so long, but I keep failing. So I'm going to need you. God, I'm going to need your strength on this one, because I can't do it on my own accord. God, I need your healing, because I can't fix this on my own. Like, make it short, make it simple. Just, you know, bring it before him. When I was going through those moments of feeling really triggered, I felt like the words just couldn't come out. I was like froze almost. And I like wanted to cry, like, I can't even pray. And I remember God just telling me, it's okay, it's okay. And I just was like, God, I need help. That's all I could say. Like, and those, you know, really just dark memories was starting to come to my mind. I just said, God, I just need help. Because I couldn't even, like, it felt like I couldn't even say a speech. I couldn't even say how I was feeling. I couldn't even talk about what I was thinking about. I was just like, God, I need help. That's all I kept saying. God, I need help. God, I need help. God, I need help. And, you know, it may seem, I don't know, weird, but that's all I could say, because it was just too dark for a moment. And God was like, that's okay, I'm here. And I'm so proud of myself, because while it was so heavy to deal with, I just started saying those words, God, I need help, God, I need help. I didn't go to the things that I talked about that was unhealthy. I was just bringing it to God, even the ugly, even though it was hard, even though it was difficult. I was just like, God, I need help, I need help. Because, you know, I told y'all this in my previous video, and I'll say it again, like, I would love to say that, you know, oh, I've been walking with God strong forever. No, okay. I've always believed in God. I've always known God. I grew up in the church, you know, the whole 9 yard. But unfortunately, I had periods of my life where I was walking away from God. Still saying, you know, I love God, I know God, going to church on Sunday, but my heart wasn't really God's. I was still very much so in this world. Back, we're gonna wrap this video up. My camera stopped because I guess it like got overheated or something. Nonetheless, we're gonna finish this, you know. But yeah, so just surrender it all to God, because he's the only one that can truly deal with it. And like I was saying, you know, I would love to say that I didn't have moments where I went off course, but that's just false. And I was in a season just recently, like I'm not talking about 4 years ago, like I'm talking about last year, where I was very much so still in this world, doing things, saying things I knew I shouldn't have been doing. But as I entered into this new year, even the end of last year, I realized something gotta give, something gotta change. And so that is why I'm really sharing a lot of these things that I am now, is because I see the transformation. I see where God is bringing me, and so where God is transforming me. And that is why I want to share, because I know that it took a lot for me to kind of like get to where I'm at. And so if I can help somebody, if it's just one person, then that's my goal. So yeah, that is all I have for today's video. As always, if no one has told you, I'm here to tell you that I'm proud of you. You're doing enough. You are exactly where you need to be. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. It's free. Like, what are you waiting for? Have you done it? Thank you. Okay. And I can't wait to see you next time.